Evan. We've all had moments where we shrink a little just to stay close to someone. We dull our shine so we don't outshine. We tolerate crumbs, hoping they'll one day offer the whole loaf. And somewhere in that process, we start negotiating our worth. Here's the truth. Your worth is not a sales pitch. It's not up for debate. It's not something you earn by doing more, being quieter, or proving yourself harder. We own our value. Every person of everyone conspires to conspire, and the world works for us. You were worthy the day you were born, worthy of love, respect, presence, and reciprocity. That doesn't change just because someone forgets how to treat you. When someone starts treating you like you're optional, it's so tempting to hustle for their attention, to over-explain, to overgive, to become a contortionist just to fit inside the tiny space they're offering. But every time you do that, a little part of you starts believing that their treatment is a reflection of your value. It's not. Sometimes people stop valuing us not because we're lacking, but because they're not capable of meeting us where we are. Or maybe they've become too familiar. Maybe they're distracted, self-involved, or in a place where they can't truly see anyone, including themselves. Whatever the reason, their inability to honor your worth doesn't diminish it. So here's the reminder we all need from time to time. You are not here to audition for someone else's appreciation. You are not a second choice. You are not a maybe. You are not too much. You are not too little. You are a full human being with needs, feelings, magic, and boundaries. And when someone starts treating you like anything less than that, it's not your job to convince them otherwise. It's your job to remember who you are. And the moment you do, that's when the power starts to shift. That's when you begin showing up for yourself in a way that says, I won't abandon me just because you did. Because your worth doesn't move. It doesn't waver. It's steady. It's rooted. It's non-negotiable. And when someone starts treating you like you're optional, it's easy to think the solution is to try harder, to fix it, to pour more of yourself into the space where their attention used to be. We think if I just show them how good I am, maybe they'll see me again. But here's the trick, and it's so simple, it might feel uncomfortable at first. Step back, quietly, with dignity. That's it. No angry text. No pointed silence screaming, see what you're missing? Just a calm withdrawal of your energy. A reclaiming of your time, your presence, your effort, your emotional labor. This isn't about playing games. It's not about punishing someone or making them chase you. That's still rooted in needing something from them. This is different. This is about choosing you. It's about recognizing when a dynamic is becoming one-sided, when you're the only one watering the relationship and saying, I love you, but I love me too. Stepping back with dignity means you trust yourself enough to not force anything. You let go of the urge to explain your worth or beg to be seen. You stop trying to prove and start preserving your peace. It's not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's strength. And it's self-respect. See, when someone stops valuing you, they're expecting you to cling. That's the pattern. That's the dance. But when you gracefully step out of that pattern, you interrupt the rhythm. You disrupt the assumption that you'll always be available, always be forgiving, always be waiting in the wings. And the silence that follows, it speaks volumes. Sometimes that silence wakes them up. They notice what's missing. They remember your presence wasn't just convenient, it was a gift. Other times they stay silent. And while that can hurt, it also tells you everything you need to know. Stepping back with dignity isn't about them. It's about you. It's about honoring the part of you that's tired of overextending. It's about trusting that you don't need to chase love to be worthy of it. And it's about making space for healing, for truth, for something better. So if someone stops valuing you, don't fight for a seat at a table where you're being served indifference. Stand up, step back, and watch what happens. Because when you choose your dignity over their disregard, that's when the story starts to change. When someone stops valuing you, it's natural to feel hurt, angry, even betrayed. That sting of being dismissed or overlooked can settle into your chest like a quiet ache, and from that ache, a grudge can grow. But here's the truth. Holding a grudge feels powerful in the moment, but it quietly drains you. Edges are heavy. They keep us tied to people in pain we're actually trying to move on from. They replay the same story in our minds over and over. How could they do that to me? Don't they know what I gave? Don't they care? And listen, those are fair questions. You're allowed to feel hurt. You're allowed to be disappointed. What you're not required to do is carry that story forever. So instead of holding a grudge, here's another option. Hold space. Hold space for your anger, for your sadness, for the heartbreak of being unseen. Let those emotions move through you, not because they're pretty, but because they're honest. Feel it all without letting it become your identity. And while you're at it, hold space for them too. Not as a way of excusing their behavior, but as a way of releasing the tight grip of resentment. People show up in the world based on where they are, not where you are. Sometimes they don't know how to value you because they haven't learned how to value themselves. Sometimes they ghost because they don't have the courage to speak. Sometimes they get so caught up in their own pain that they forget how to care for yours. It's not your job to excuse it, but it is your responsibility to decide what you'll do with the impact. When you hold space instead of a grudge, you shift the focus back to yourself. You stop chasing closure from someone who may never give it, and you give it to yourself. That space becomes sacred. It becomes a boundary. It becomes a place where you say, I see what happened. I see how it made me feel, and I choose to let go. Not because they deserve peace, but because I do. And don't mistake letting go for weakness. It's the strongest thing you can do. Because here's what grudges do. They keep you tied to the moment you were hurt. Here's what holding space does. It opens up your future to healing, growth, and peace. So yes, feel the sting. Name the wound, honor your emotions, but don't turn your pain into a prison. You're allowed to put it down. You're allowed to be free. Wait for the approval, the praise, the response. We got used to measuring our worth by someone else's reaction. Did they respond? Did they notice me? Did they still like me? Was I enough this time? But when someone stops valuing you, that waiting game becomes exhausting. Suddenly, your sense of self starts to feel like it's on life support, hooked up to someone else's ability to see your worth. And that's when it hits you. Their silence doesn't mean you're invisible. It just means they're not looking. So here's the mic drop moment. Start validating yourself loudly, boldly, without apology. Tell yourself, I'm proud of how I handle that. I'm allowed to take up space. I did my best. I am worthy, even if they never say it. I matter, even if they forget. Self-delight is not arrogance. It's not delusion. It's a quiet, grounded knowing that says, I don't need to be chosen to know I'm valuable. I already chose me. And that changes everything. Because when you start validating yourself, a few beautiful things happen. You stop shrinking for approval. You stop molding yourself into a version that fits someone else's comfort. You start making decisions from a place of wholeness, not desperation. You'll still care. You're human. You'll still want to be seen and understood. That's natural. That you'll no longer be dependent on it. You won't crumble when someone doesn't clap. You won't question your worth when someone walks away. You won't keep begging for love from people who only give it in small, controlled doses. I'll be rooted and free. And here's what's even more powerful. When you self-liquid, you stop seeking situations that mirror your insecurity. You start gravitating toward people who recognize your worth because you already do. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to be done, but because confidence born from self-liquidate is quiet, steady, and unmistakable. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It just is. So if you're waiting for that message, that apology, that gesture to make you feel worthy again, take a breath. Put your hand on your heart and remind yourself, I was never waiting on them. I was waiting on me. And now that you've shown up, mic dropped, power reclaimed. And someone stops valuing you, it's easy to think you need to fight for the connection, to stir up the chaos, to rattle the cage, to make noise. It's tempting to demand answers, to throw out ultimatums, to chase after them until they see your worth. But when you pull your energy back, when you choose to step back with dignity and start validating yourself, something remarkable happens. You don't find chaos. You find clarity, and at first that clarity may feel uncomfortable because it forces you to confront the truth. You don't need anyone to complete you. You don't need validation from someone who can't see your value. You don't need approval from people who only appreciate you when it's convenient for them. And as uncomfortable as it may feel, it's the truth that brings you peace. So often, we think that the absence of noise, whether it's their acknowledgement, their apology, their attention, is a void to fill with worry, frustration, and second guessing. But when you step away, when you give yourself that space, you actually begin to see things more clearly. You begin to see how much energy you've been pouring into people who were not able or willing to reciprocate. You begin to realize that the chaos you were living in wasn't the lack of their attention, it was your own fear of stepping into your power and saying, I deserve better. When you step back, you allow room for your thoughts to settle, for your emotions to surface, and for the truth to come into focus. It's as if the fog lifts and you're no longer chasing a mirage of validation from someone else. You gain a deeper understanding of who you are without the need to measure up to someone else's standards. You start recognizing your own patterns, your needs, your worth, and that's clarity. Clarity isn't about knowing what others think of you. It's about knowing what you think of yourself. And sometimes when you let go of the constant chase and pull your energy back, they come to you. They realize what they've lost. They remember who you were before they took your presence for granted. They may even apologize, reach out, or try to reconnect, but sometimes they don't. And here's the gift in that too. You'll be okay. In fact, you'll be better than okay. You'll be free. Because what you find in that clarity isn't just the absence of chaos. It's the realization that you were always enough, even when they couldn't see it. And you didn't need them to see it in order to thrive. So watch what happens when you stop fighting for a seat at the table of someone else's appreciation. You will find that the space you create doesn't leave you empty, it fills you up with your own light. And that is when the magic happens. This is one of the hardest parts of the journey, but also one of the most liberating. Letting go of the version of yourself that needed them to see you. For so long, you may have lived in a space where your worth was tangled up in their approval, their attention, or their love. You may have believed on some level that if they could just recognize you, truly see you for who you are, then everything would finally fall into place. Their validation would be the key to your happiness. And when that validation stopped coming, or when it became scarce, you felt lost. A part of you was suddenly invisible. You questioned your value. You tried harder. You bent over backward to make sure they could see what they were missing. But here's the painful yet powerful truth. When you let go of needing them to see you, you begin to see yourself more clearly. Letting go of the version of you that constantly needs external validation means unhooking your self-worth from someone else's perspective. It means choosing to be seen by you. It's a shift, a radical act of self-liberation that asks you to stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that no longer honor you. It asks you to stop twisting and contorting to become the version of you that you think others might accept or understand. And instead, it invites you to embrace the fullness of who you are without needing anyone else to validate it. This process isn't easy. We've been conditioned to seek approval, to earn love, to prove our value. But the moment you choose to let go of that need, something powerful happens. You begin to take your power back. You realize that you no longer have to chase anyone who can't see your worth. You realize that you no longer need permission to shine. You realize that you've been worthy all along, even in the moments when others couldn't or wouldn't see it. And when you let go of the version of you that needed their approval, you also let go of the weight of rejection. The beauty of letting go of that version of you is that it frees you to become the version of you that's waiting to emerge. The version that doesn't need to explain, chase, or beg for love. The version that knows its worth and carries that knowing with grace. And in that freedom, you create space for the relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, love, and admiration. Not because you're seeking validation from them, but because you're offering them the gift of being seen in return. When you let go of needing others to see you, you finally see yourself. And that's when everything changes. In the end, the journey of being valued begins not with the people around us, but with the relationship we build with ourselves. When someone stops valuing you, it's not a reflection of your worth. It's simply a signal that it's time to shift the focus back to where it always should have been, on you. Recognize that your worth is non-negotiable. It's not something that can be dictated by someone else's perception. And when you step back with dignity, you create the space you need to reclaim your power. You hold space for your feelings without being consumed by them. You validate yourself so you don't need to seek external approval to know your own value. And as you watch what happens, you'll find that clarity emerges where chaos once lived. When you finally let go of the version of yourself that needed someone else to see you, you free yourself from the cycle of dependency. You choose your own validation, your own love, your own respect. And in that freedom, you open yourself up to the kind of connections that are rooted in mutual appreciation, not because you need them, but because they are a reflection of the person you have become. Remember this, you are already enough. You always have been. And when you stop chasing others' approval and start nurturing your own self-respect, you will find that everything you need was inside you all along. So let go, step back, choose yourself, and watch as your life unfolds with clarity, authenticity, and the kind of love you truly deserve.